Geneva's Assembly Hall is quiet, but there's just been a big moment. 194 countries have agreed on a global pandemic accord. Could this be the turning point for how we handle pandemics?
Today's date is May 30th, 2025. The World Health Organization has officially adopted the world's first global pandemic agreement. This is a response to what happened during COVID-19, isn't it?
Exactly. After 3 years of negotiations, all 194 member states reached consensus at the 78th World Health Assembly. That's not something you see often. The main aim is to fix the gaps that left so many countries exposed during the last pandemic.
Let's dig into what's actually in the agreement. First, rapid and transparent sharing of outbreak information. That's been a problem in the past. Is this enforceable now, or is it more of a goal?
This time, countries are agreeing to set timelines for sharing outbreak data. The reasoning is that delays have real consequences. Lives are at stake. That expectation of speed and openness is now in the accord. Of course, the challenge is making sure countries stick with it.
And about vaccines and treatments. During COVID, wealthier countries had first access. How does this try to level the playing field?
The agreement introduces something called the Pathogen Access and Benefit Sharing System, or PABS. Manufacturers are required to set aside 20% of pandemic-related products, vaccines, diagnostics, treatments, for the WHO. These are then distributed to low- and middle-income countries based on public health needs rather than ability to pay.
So, that 20%, it's immediate, not after the wealthiest countries fill their orders?
Yes, exactly. The allocation happens as soon as products are produced. And once the agreement is ratified by at least 60 countries, this requirement becomes legally binding.
But if a country doesn't comply, what actually happens? Is there any real consequence?
That's still being worked out. The WHO is set to monitor compliance, but specific penalties are under negotiation, especially for PABs and the financial aspects. National governments still make their own health decisions, but now they're accountable through this accord.
So it's more about transparency and making actions visible rather than direct punishment?
Right. The main idea is to set clear expectations and make non-compliance visible to the global community. There could be further incentives or consequences decided at the next assembly.
Let's talk about strengthening health systems, especially where resources are thin. How does the agreement address that?
The focus is on building resilient health systems and improving disease surveillance, especially where they're weakest. There's also a proposal for a global pandemic fund to support preparedness and a logistics network to get supplies where they're needed most.
That really reflects some of the inequities we saw during COVID. Some countries bounced back quickly, others struggled with basic access.
Exactly. The emphasis on equity is a direct response to those failures, making sure support and resources reach all countries, not just those with the most money.
Do you think this agreement will actually change how the world handles pandemics, or could it end up as just another document?
It really depends on how well it's implemented. If countries keep their promises on fast data sharing, fair access, and health system strengthening, it could make a real difference. But it relies on actual cooperation, not just signatures.
And for next steps, finalizing the details of PABs, the funding mechanism, and getting at least 60 countries to ratify. Is there a set timeline for all this?
The plan is for further negotiations at the next World Health Assembly. The agreement only comes into force when 60 countries ratify it, so the coming year is key.
So, to sum up, the world now has a pandemic agreement. It's aiming for faster information sharing, fairer access to medical supplies, and stronger health systems. But making it real is up to each country.
The real test will be accountability. When the next crisis arrives, will countries hold together?
That's what we'll be watching. Thanks for being with us as we unpacked this milestone agreement.
Thank you for tuning in. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it for free.